Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb.
And this is Estela.
And welcome to
Cafecito
and Crime. Today's episode will be brought to you by Estela Felawella.
The fuck?
I don't know. I just made that up right now. So welcome, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to anybody that is new. We are going to go ahead and get started with Estela's case of the week. So Estela, what do you got for us?
So for today's case, we're actually staying here in Texas.
Oh, wait, that's you know what? That's actually big for you because I was actually telling my daughter that. She's like, Mom, how do you pick your case? I'm like, I don't know why. My cases are always in Texas or around Texas, and yours are never around here. So yeah. Okay, let's see where we're going.
Sargent, Texas. I
think that you just Google the cases that have the weirdest names of places, and that's where you do your case.
I have never heard of Sargent, Texas.
Is it like in El Paso somewhere?
No. I'm about to tell you, actually.
Oh, okay. So if you'd like to come with us to Sargent, Texas, grab your cafecitos.
And let's get started. So, like I just said, we're going to be in Texas for today.
Sargento.
In Sargent, Texas, it's over an hour from Houston.
What?
It's southwest of Galveston in Matagorda County.
Oh, my God. I've never heard of this. I need to pay attention to the...
Matagorda County.
I know Matagorda County, sometimes they have tornadoes.
I know there's always like a flash
flood warnings, that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And the fun, random, interesting fact about Sargent is that it was named after George Sargent, who was an Englishman who immigrated from Cornwall, England to...
Not Cornwall.
Pared de Lote.
De Lotes.
See?
Okay.
In 1834.
Okay.
In 1834. So he settled in the area and he bought land and he...
Wait. From England to Texas?
Yeah.
Matagorda County?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, at the time, it wasn't Matagorda County.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, out of everywhere, he came here?
To the Gulf.
To the Gulf. Okay, through the Gulf. Okay.
To the...
Well, you know.
Yeah. And like I said, he had cattle and he was like a...
He was a rancher.
He was a businessman. He was a businessman.
Oh, wow.
He bought land and he built his home just like 3 or 4 miles inland from the Gulf. And in 1875, a hurricane hit where George and his daughter-in-law both drowned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and their bodies were found days after the storm had passed.
That is horrible.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? But I had never heard of Sargent, so.
Super duper crazy.
And it's not even far.
That is a really fun, interesting, random fact.
Yeah.
Well, not fun, but, you know.
Random. Interesting. Yeah. So we will be discussing the case of Jack Grigsby. And it's not something that we haven't, seen before. And it happens all the time, unfortunately. But as we always say, it's a tragic case. And it's the fact that he was in his 70s. He was retired.
Chilling.
He was just trying to enjoy being retired. But all of that was taken away from him in 2009 because somebody was greedy.
Always.
Yeah. So let's get started.
The root of all evil.
Dinero. Now, there's not a lot of information on Jack, but what we do know is that Jack Bransom Grigsby Jr. was born on September 19th, 1936 in Houston, Texas. He was the second out of 4 children. He had an older sister, y lo era él, and then it was his younger brother and then a younger sister. And he attended and graduated from Milby High School in 1955.
Oh, Milby. We know Milby.
In 1975, he attended Southwest Bible College and he planned to join the seminary. But not sure what changed. His plans changed and he actually enlisted in the Army in 1958.
Interesting.
After he was honorably discharged, he moved to Dallas to begin his career. He worked as a paper broker for Roosevelt Paper Company.
What's a paper broker?
Like a salesman.
So he would sell paper?
Yeah. It's the Times.
Like construction paper? Like what kind of paper? Like newspaper?
Well, I don't know. Paper? Maybe like white sheets of paper for like industrial printers or something? I don't know.
Okay.
Why are you hung up on that?
I don't know. I just never heard of somebody being a paper conductor. What did you say it was?
Broker.
Oh.
He was a people person and worked very hard. He loved entertaining his clients. He worked so hard that so much so he eventually opened up his own paper company, Paper Associate Inc. And he, like I said, he was a people person and he made sure to entertain his customers when they were in town, taking them out for dinner, wine and dining them. Mm-hmm. In 1961, Jack married his first wife, Pat, and the couple would go on to have 2 sons. And Jack was known for being a really good dad. And the family as a whole, they were very outdoorsy. They would go fishing, camping, that sort of thing. And things seemed to be going well for the Grigsby family. Unfortunately, after over 20 years of marriage, Jack and Pat decided to go their separate ways, and they divorced in 1982. And even though they were divorced, I believe they were actually on pretty good terms. Like, si se llevaban bien.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't until 1991 that Jack would go on to meet his future wife, Cathie. And the couple met at a friend's party at an apartment complex in 1991. So let's talk about Cathie a little bit. Mary Catherine, or Cathie as she was called, was born in 1949 in Bristol, Tennessee. Again, I feel like we knew a little bit more about Jack, not really about Cathie, but what we do know...
She was a lot younger than him because he was from 36.
And she was from 49.
49, so yeah.
He was 13 years older.
Yeah.
What we do know about Cathie...
I'm imagining Jack not looking old, though. Like, he wouldn't... Like, since he was outdoorsy, he didn't... I don't know. I don't know what he looks like, but I can just imagine.
What we do know about Cathie was that she moved around from, she moved around some. She spent time in New Mexico. Después she spent time in West Texas. At some point, she was like a bookkeeper. So she had a lot of experience in accounting. And she worked as a broker as a bookkeeper for a while. Eventually, she ended up in the Dallas, Fort Worth area, where she worked at a mail center for Walmart.
Cool.
I never thought of Walmart as having a mail center.
Yeah, they do. You can do your taxes there, and they have whatchamacallit, you can send money, you can do check cashing and stuff. Yeah, at the Walmart. Yeah, That I do know.
Okay. Now, también Cathie, she had previously been married, so she had been divorced twice. And like Jack, she also had 2 children, a son and a daughter. Now, I don't know what the situation was with her ex-husbands, but it was reported that Cathie worked hard to support her children as best as she could.
So, ¿tenía más de uno?
Tenía 2.
¿Dos, pero ex-husband o uno?
2 ex-husbands.
Oh, tenía 2.
Yes.
Okay,
And Cathie was also part of a sorority.
Okay, cool.
The Epsilon Sigma Alpha. Now, I'm not sure. This had to have been from her college days, right? I'm assuming, because I know they're lifelong sisters, right?
Yeah, That's what I've heard.
That's what I understand también.
I'm not a part of one,
but either way, she was part of the sorority. She loved it. Then she was the chapter president. And they organized fundraisers. She was still active at this point. Mm-hmm. Organized fundraisers in the form of bake and garage sales, and they worked a lot with their main charity was St. Jude's.
So, but the thing is, question. So, did she go to college here in Texas, or
we don't know?
Oh, okay.
They just said that she was involved in a sorority, and even as she was older, she was still very active. Mm-hmm. They would still get together and such. So that's why I was I'm assuming it came from
college,
because I don't think sorority. You can join a sorority after you're older.
I don't know. I would think that you would go from when you were younger aging
and then just throughout the years you. That's what I understand from sororities and the movies I've seen.
Same.
So by the time Cathie met Jack, her kids were already older. They were already on their own. That was kind of something that they had in common, as well as being divorced. Now, like we just mentioned, Jack was 13 years her senior. Mm-hmm. But despite the age gap, she really liked him. She liked that he was laid back.
I feel like Jack was cool.
Yeah, he sounds like he was a chill dude.
Yeah, definitely.
He was calm, quiet, and a gentleman. And they dated for years before finally tying the knot in 1996.
So they dated, 5 years. Yeah.
In 2001, Jack retired. He was 65. Mm-hmm. And he just wanted now to relax. And, he had worked hard for so many years that now he just wanted to enjoy the fruits of his labors. And he wanted to do that in Sargent, Texas, which was just under 5 hours away from Dallas.
I need to look up Sargent. Like, is it like a place where a lot of people go and like they go and retire or something?
Not a lot of people.
But maybe there was like, you know how...
But there's a community of people that go there and retire.
Yeah, because there's like, around here that there's a lot of places where you can go and buy land. So people go and buy land and then they make houses there. So, so I'm guessing if that was something like that he found, interesting.
Interesting, I guess, yeah. So Sargent is a small community with just over 1,200 people.
Wow.
As of 2022. So imagine back in 2001. A lot of people, like we just said, that retire do move to Sargent, and it's a very laid back, it's waterfront, it's big on fishing and boating and that type of place. And it was exactly what Jack wanted. I mean, he was that type of guy. He had always been. While Jack was living a more slow-paced life, Cathie was not in the same lane just yet. Remember, Jack was 13 years older than her, and she was 52 at that time. So when they moved, she was 52 at the time that they moved to Sargent. So she still wanted to work. So she got a job as a bookkeeper at the Salvation Army. And everyone just had nothing but raving reviews about Cathie.
No, they gave her a 5 out of 5 on
5 out of 5 recommend.
Recommend? Would recommend on Cathie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody just loved her. I think like in that way about like being a people person, like Jack was, she was one as well. She was cheerful, happy, and they said that she was just always looking on the bright side of things. And she was also still involved in her sorority. And
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe she still wanted to go and like do her fundraising or whatever.
Yeah, she did, because she would still make trips to Dallas whenever she needed to. So she kept busy. But over time, as the months passed, Cathie began to miss the hustle and bustle of the city and being near her friends. And this began to cause problems in the relationship with Jack, and they began to argue a lot.
Yeah, because I'm guessing Sargent era como para estar tranquilos, callados, que no se oía nada. And she was used to like go,
Yes,
all the time, me working and my friends and all of that,
You took the words right out of my mouth. She wanted to be on the go.
Yeah, like literally, like that's what it sounds like to me. Como que él está listo de calmarse ya, like he's all like, ya estoy más grande, whatever. And 13 years is 13 years. Yeah. It makes a big difference. So, I mean, she was probably like, I don't want to,
Maybe at first she was like, oh, okay, pero yeah. Like you said, like you compare a big ass city like Dallas to Sargent. I mean, imagine
that's 1,200 people.
Over.
And there's like millions and millions of people in Dallas. Like, I don't know. Some people just love the city life and some people just are okay with that.
Or maybe she would have been okay with it just a little bit later in life. Like we just said,
definitely.
The age gap, made a big difference. So like we just said, she wanted to be on the go, and Jack didn't. He just wanted to sit back and relax. Things worsened between the two, and so much so that the couple decided to separate after 10 years of being together.
Wow. That must have been hard for them to make that decision,
Yeah.
10 years is a lot.
10 years is a lot. So Cathie moved out of the home into an apartment, which Jack was paying for. I'm not sure what other bills he paid, but for sure he paid her apartment, her car note, and I believe some credit card payments. Now, I don't know about the dynamic of the relationship after Cathie moved out, but it would take a couple of years before Cathie finally filed for divorce, which was in 2003. However, the petition ended up being dismissed after she and Jack reconciled.
Oh, okay. Okay, they were like, let's try again. Okay.
Now, it would take another 5 years in 2008 before Cathie filed for divorce a second time.
Oh, she was like, nah, creo que no.
She claimed that Jack abused her verbally, physically, and emotionally. And over the years, she complained to her friends that Jack was very domineering and that he always kept tabs on her. So she moved out again. And it seemed that the separation this time around was for good. Now we're in 2009. Jack is in his 70s. His health had been declining over the years. And he at one point suffered a stroke that left one of his sides weak. And he was on a lot of medication. And even though he and Cathie were separated, it seemed that things might have been a little bit better between the two. They were on friendlier terms, I would say. Cathie would check in on Jack when he wasn't doing the best. I mean, even after everything, like they have known each other for a really long time. They were together for a really long time. So she felt bad that he was that his health was not the best. So The divorce was still moving forward regardless, and the proceedings were set to begin that summer in June. So like I mentioned, Cathie was still involved in her sorority. And like I just said, también, she made trips to Dallas when needed. And she had a convention coming up the weekend of May 15th. And she was going to, I think que se iba a ir for 4 days. And she asked Jack to watch her dog. Of course, he said yes. And he was such an animal person también. So he did not mind it, not one bit. And I believe that that's what they did anyway. It was the norm. Like if she needed something, he would help out if he could and vice versa.
Well, that's nice though. That's good that they had each other at least, to help each other.
And she was going to, so le dijo, hey, can you watch my dog? I'll pick him up cuando I come back on Sunday, May the 17th.
It was like a weekend thing.
Yeah. I think she was going to leave. She left Thursday.
Okay.
So she was going to like a long weekend. So she leaves for Dallas and picks up some of her friends on the way and they carpool. Y ya se van a la convention. It's a convention. She returned that Sunday and made her way to Jack's house to pick up her dog. And it was a little, I want to say closer to 9 p.m. Para entonces, when she walked inside, she found Jack on the floor in a pool of blood.
Oh, shit.
She immediately called 911, and you can hear on the 911 call that she is frantically just crying. And she tells the operator what she walked into. Y dijo, in the call, she says that her husband was in a recliner and that it was turned over on the floor, and he was also on the floor, that he wasn't breathing and that blood was coming out of his mouth. And when they asked her if he had hurt himself, ella dijo that she didn't know. And then she was just unconsolably crying and just yelling that Jack was dead. Police arrived in moments. First responders, I'm sorry. And he was found on the floor by a recliner that had been overturned. And there was blood pooled around him and with blood on his chest, just as Cathie had stated. But sadly, there was no sign of life. And he was deceased at the time. And he was 72.
Wow.
I know.
Pobrecito.
So police arrived on the scene, and they soon discovered that Jack had a gunshot wound to his head.
That's why I was like, okay, so like was because they asked her if he was hurt, but I was like, okay, is he bleeding? Because you said there was a pool of blood around him. Was there like a specific
place that it was coming from? Yeah, but it wasn't until it was a gunshot wound to the head.
Oh, wow. Not self-inflicted.
We'll get to that right now. Cathie, she told police at the scene that when she arrived that the door was unlocked and that the lights were off. Y dice que ella se metió, and then when she walked in, then that's when she found Jack. When they asked what could have happened, she just, as from on the top of her head, she just mentioned that, he had been in poor health. Que ya no salía de la casa. And I guess, because he had so many health problems, he might have been depressed. And like you said, investigators were thinking, I'm like, oh shit. So they didn't say, oh shit, but they were like, did he commit? Is this a suicide? Now, Cathie, she gets taken to the sheriff's department for a formal interview while the police begin to process the scene. And one thing that stood out to them was that there was no weapon found close to Jack, which would be the case when somebody shoots themselves, la pistola or the weapon falls nearby. But not only that, there was no weapon found at all.
Okay.
And this let investigators know that they were dealing with the homicide, not a suicide.
Yeah, because the weapon just magically disappeared.
Yeah. So who shot Jack, right? But even though there was no weapon found on the scene, a 9mm spent shell casing was located. Investigators quickly concluded that it had not been a robbery because there was no forced entry into the home. None of the windows were broken. His wallet was there and it had cash in it. And he also had a safe that wasn't touched. And this is crazy that obviously, they're investigators, so they see this. And it was clear that Jack, he was sitting down when he was shot. So that means that he let somebody in, or somebody that he knew.
Yeah, because it wasn't like that he was standing up and they shot him and he fell there.
Or by the door or something, right? So he was sitting down in his house when he got shot, which is crazy. So back at the station, Cathie, kind of gives him like a rundown of, Jack and her relationship with Jack, and, tells him what we already know, and that they were on friendly terms, even though they had been separated and were going to get a divorce that summer. She also tells him that she left her dog with Jack that Wednesday. porque ella se iba a ir el jueves, o se lo fue a dejar el miércoles en la noche.
Sí, porque estaba lejecitos, because she needed to go drop him off and then drive back to her home, get everything ready, and then leave, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her alibi is solid, right? There's plenty of witnesses where she was, and she even had receipts that placed her not near Jack's home at the time of his death. Investigators asked Cathie if she knew of anyone else who had access to the home. And the only person that she could think of was of a man named Royce Cootie.
Not the cootie.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
Not the cootie cat. Oh, my God.
Like Cody, but with another O. So Cootie.
Oh, not the cootie. What did Royce Cootie do?
At first it was like cooties. Like, oh, you got cooties. But no, it was Cootie. Cody Cootie.
It's a cootie cat.
Now, Royce
Cootie
was sort of, I guess, a handyman.
He probably would help him.
For Jack, yeah. And Jack was, how do you know?
Let's take a quick break.
Persons of Interest is back, and it's bigger than ever.
That scream will echo in my head for many years.
Taser! 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 He's gonna shoot!
Oi! Shot fired! Shot fired, shot fired.
Stay out! You got a gun on you!
He had the perfect aim.
I am absolutely stressed at that point. I have no idea where my officers are.
Persons of Interest available everywhere you get your podcasts.
You like, I just know.
I just know because I'm a personal investigator.
Oh, te dice que eres así Walter Mercado.
No, casi.
Like, yeah, he would help Jack out, and Jack was doing some renovations to his house, so también Royce le ayudaba.
Pues porque dijiste que había tenido un problem on his left side, or
Yeah.
you know, le había dado a stroke, so he probably couldn't do a lot of stuff, so he needed some help.
Yeah.
So Cootie was the person.
Yeah. But other than that, she said that she didn't really know much about the man, and but she was able to provide his phone number. Another question that Cathie was asked by investigators was if she owned a gun, which was really fucking weird that she initially said no, but then backtracked and said yes, that she actually...
She's probably scared.
That's true.
Yeah.
That she indeed owned a gun.
I mean, we're in Texas, dude.
It was a 9mm Ruger. I don't know guns pronunciations. I don't know how you say that. That she had purchased from her boss at the Salvation Army.
The Salvation Army has guns?
No, but it's like a personal transaction.
I was like, what the hell? They need to...
I didn't know that.
I was like, ¿qué pedo eso? Okay.
No, she said that she bought the gun off her boss for personal protection, porque ella vivía sola. She was told by investigators that she needed to turn in the weapon, right?
Yeah.
And she agreed, and she even signed a consent form for it. And in no time, they went with Cathie.
Not Cathie. They went with Cathie. Where'd they go with Cathie? Where'd they go with Cathie? Where did Cathie go? The fuck? Mamadas nada más. Puras fallas.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, bitch. Puras fallas.
So that took no time, and as soon as they had her signature, they made their way to her apartment with Cathie in tow. However, when they arrived and went to retrieve the gun from where she said that she kept it, which was the stand next to her bed, it wasn't there.
The fuck?
They searched her apartment and they were not able to locate it. They asked her when was the last time she had laid eyes on it, and she stated that it was on Thursday, the week before she left town. And her only explanation for the gun not being where she said that it usually was, it was that because it had to have been stolen. She said that...
Pero nunca se dio cuenta?
I guess she didn't check it every day.
Okay.
I don't know. But she said that no one had access to her apartment.
I was about to say, like, who could just walk in? And...
Besides the apartment complex managers or, like, the maintenance man for the building. They're the ones who have keys. Now, investigators, I mean, I'm sure you are. I'm sure listeners are. They were squinting at Cathie, right?
Like, yeah, right, bitch. Dino la verdad.
Everything was, it kind of...
It makes sense.
Yeah, like, okay, you're missing a 9mm
Como que todo
gun.
cayó, like, in place to where now you're missing the same gun that was shot at your ex-husband that you're about, or your husband that you're about to divorce. Like,
right.
It makes no sense.
And they needed to locate the maintenance man for her apartment complex to see if he had anything to do with her missing gun. So that was one avenue that they were pursuing. And they had other ones to pursue también, because they also needed to reach out to your boy, Royce.
Cootie!
Yeah. So they decided to call up Royce, you know, because like I said, Cathie les dio el número de teléfono.
Rang him.
It went straight to voicemail.
Chinga. I knew it.
Now, as you know, that was going on, Jack's autopsy results came in, and they revealed, you know, that Jack's cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head.
A single?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it happened between noon and 9 p.m. on Sunday.
Pero entonces esta mujer no estaba. She wasn't back, right?
Exactly. You took out the words, my next line. That immediately excluded Cathie, because she was...
And she was with her sorority sister, si la madre. And they could probably look up like her, like video cameras of her, like in el bookies, you know?
Yeah. So investigators returned to Jack's home, where technicians were still processing the scene. And they found Jack's diary, or like a calendar of some sort.
Okay.
Where he, like in his handwriting, the final entry that he wrote down detailed a visit from Royce Cootie. And he had been there the day before. So not Sunday, but Saturday. And it was while they were at Jack's that Royce actually pulled up to Jack's house to speak with investigators.
He was like, I'm here.
Yeah, because they were like, me andan buscando, I'm coming to you.
I'm coming to you, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we need to clear some stuff up, ¿verdad?
Pues no tenía nada que esconder según él, Cootie.
He told them that the last time he saw Jack was Friday, before he was killed.
But that's not what
He said that he was there because he was doing some repair work for Jack, and then that they started to clean some fish, you know, because they were big into fishing. But investigators caught Royce in a lie, right? Because it didn't line up with the entry that Jack had detailed.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Where's the dog? They never mentioned the dog again?
No.
Did the dog get out?
I'm assuming so. Oh, there's a mention of the dog. We'll get to that.
Because I'm worried about the dog.
They brought up the inconsistency up to Royce, and he said, oh, I have memory problems. I forgot I was here Saturday too.
Oh, se le olvidó al compa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they asked him, where were you on Sunday, pues, right?
Mm-hmm. Not at Jack's house.
To which he stated that he had gone fishing with a friend.
But then you were cleaning the fish that you had?
No, on Sunday.
Oh, on Sunday. Okay,
Sunday. They asked him dónde estaba el domingo. So they let him leave, right? And they do follow up on his alibi with that friend.
I could have just been like those people, okay, you know, the investigators be like, don't go too far. You know, like one of those.
That's what you say?
That's what I would say. Be like, don't go too far, Cootie.
Like that too?
Yeah, like that.
Cootie. Cat. But in a low voice.
Yeah.
You say
cat. Pa que no me oiga.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like I just said, they followed up with the friend, and the friend corroborated his alibi. So he was where they were fishing was nowhere near Jack's house. Now, a few hours later, while they were still at Jack's house or Jack's home, another man approached and the investigators asking to speak with them. The man's name is Joe Zamora, and he told investigators that he thought that he saw something that might be important. He elaborated by saying that he had been fishing in the area late that morning, early that afternoon, and kept seeing a car driving around multiple times. According to Joe, that person was not fishing. And again, like we just stated early on, Sargent is a small community.
Yeah, I was about to say.
People know your car. Yeah. Like if you're not from around here, they're going to notice you're not from around here. Mm-hmm. So the car stood out. And what was even more unusual was that the vehicle, which was a Ford Taurus, will pull into Jack's driveway y lo se iba. In the last instance that it did this, the driver of the vehicle didn't leave, but actually got off instead and went to go knock on Jack's door. A bit of time later, the Taurus, I guess, pulled up to Joe. I'm assuming that Joe, who had been fishing in the area, he was done and he was putting his stuff away. And it's when the car pulled up next to him. And the guy in the vehicle asked him how the fishing was. And Joe says that he told the guy that it wasn't any good. And according to Joe, he said that he just got a really bad feeling about the guy and that the guy couldn't even make like direct eye contact as he was asking him this question, and said that it made him feel uneasy and nervous. He was able to describe the men to investigators, and they were able to create a composite sketch. The mystery man was a white male with a mustache.
A mustache?
A mustache. He was of an average build and was about 5'10", looked to be in his 40s or 50s. And that day that, Joe came across him, he was wearing like a baseball hat and sunglasses. He dijo that he looked kind of like grungy. So the sketch was...
Like dirty?
Well, they say grungy like he belongs in a biker gang.
Oh, like with black and stuff?
No.
With leather?
No. But he just had like, his mustache was like he was a founding father.
Huh.
Like long. The sketch was released to the public of the surrounding areas in hopes of someone coming forward with any information.
Maybe somebody else had seen him. También el carro? Okay.
Yes. So a dive team was also brought in to search the waterways near Jack's home, but it yielded no new evidence or any other clues. And as they continued their investigation, investigators questioned Cathie's boss about the sale of that gun. He stated that yes, that he indeed sold her that gun and produced a bill of sale that was dated in March. So this was May, going towards the end of May, and this was March, so just a couple of months prior. He also stated that the gun was loaded with 10 rounds of ammunition at the time of the sale. So following their detective intuition, investigators asked the boss if he by any chance still had the box of the remaining rounds, and he stated that he did. So after they compared the shell casing found at the scene to the box of ammunition that the boss had, it was discovered that they were made by the same manufacturer. So now suspicion was heavy on Cathie, but either way, she couldn't have been the shooter because she was out of town. That we knew. However, the idea that she somehow could have been involved was not discarded.
Yeah, of course. Maybe she paid somebody to go do it for her, whatever.
Right. And the perfect alibi was, I'm going to be out of town, right? Mm-hmm. So they reached out to her for another interview, and to their surprise, she had lawyered up.
Ah, interesting.
And was instructed by her counsel not to speak to the police.
Okay.
That wasn't the only roadblock that had popped up. After 9 days, the sketch also hadn't brought in any new leads. And this next part that we're going to talk about, it kind of reminded me of the thinking skills of the police officer from the Jasmine Richardson and Jeremy Steinke from a couple of episodes ago. Go listen to it. It's a two-parter.
Yeah.
When they were going, like they were in leader, y luego they were in that running away in that car. And then the cop there knew that they were coming in this direction. They were going to stop at a specific gas station.
Because they were going to need gas, yeah.
So this is kind of like the same thinking here. In Sargent, there is a specific gas station that investigators felt that this man who would have been driving around the area would have stopped at if he needed to. So they made their way to said gas station, which had surveillance video. Mm-hmm. In the video, you see the Ford Taurus, which matched Joe's description, pull into a parking spot. The man walked out of the vehicle and walked inside the gas station, and that man also matched Joe's description. He made a couple of purchases that day. He came in, bought something, left, came back again, and then bought some beer, and then left again. Because remember, Joe said that he would park into Jack's,
and then come out,
and they would see him driving around. When he made the purchases, he paid with the Lone Star card.
Not the food stamps.
Which is a state-provided card for food stamps, for Texas. Though obviously you can't buy alcohol, so I'm assuming the first purchase he made was...
Like the chips or something?
Like the chips or something.
Mm-hmm. You can't buy alcohol.
No, with the food stamps, yeah. So investigators were actually able to trace the application of the Lone Star, of the state benefits, to a woman named Suzanne Matz, who lived in the Dallas area, and noted that her boyfriend, Daniel Ray Harrison, lived with her on the application. So with that information, they were able to pull up their driver's license. And Daniel's photo matched that of the man on the surveillance video in the sketch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So investigators made, I don't know if you've ever heard of this town, but investigators made their way to Denison, Texas. Really?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
You?
Never. Which is about an hour outside of Dallas.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think so.
So, it was June 4th when they went over to Denison.
So this time is already past what, May? And
a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So they made their way out there on June 4 to pay Suzanne Matz and Daniel Harrison a visit. When they arrived, a Ford Taurus was parked outside the home that matched the vehicle that was seen in Sargent. Now, Suzanne was the one that opened the door ese día. Daniel no estaba. He wasn't home. So they informed her that they were investigating the death of Jack Grigsby, and asked her how she knew Cathie. Suzanne told investigators that she met Cathie in 2001 while they both worked at a Walmart's mail center, and they've kept in touch over the years because Cathie did some tax services, so she would do her taxes.
Yeah, because she was like a bookkeeper, so she kind of knew about all of that paperwork
yeah.
stuff.
So that's how they kept in touch over the years. According to Suzanne, Cathie did confide in her about her issues with Jack and that their relationship was rocky. Not only that, but Cathie, again, this is according to Suzanne, Cathie was looking to have Jack killed and asked her if she knew of anyone who could do it.
What the fuck? ¿Y eso?
So Suzanne told her, no.
No?
Also, like, I'm thinking, like, what kind of energy or what kind of conversations are we having that you think you can ask me if I know somebody that would murder your husband?
I know. Maybe she was like, maybe she looked grunge. You know? You never know.
But
what
you know her.
Pues sí, wait, pero I mean, maybe she was like, oh, you look like somebody that might know somebody that will kill my husband. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely. I'd be like, don't ever fucking contact me ever again.
Yes,
I'm going to find somebody else to do my taxes. I'm going to go to TurboTax.
How will go TurboTax?
In another instance, according to Suzanne, who now was a pharmacist, Cathie,
good for her.
Cathie asked her if an increased dose of Klonopin could be fatal. But according to Suzanne, she was like, I didn't think Cathie was being serious, which apparently is the case for a lot of these cases.
I remember we talked about somebody also que they were trying to kill their family y luego le iba y le preguntaba a la gente with this, and then the people were like, we didn't think that he was being, or I don't remember if it was he or she, being serious. Like, you don't, I mean, what would you do? Let's be honest.
If somebody would ask me, I know none of my friends or nobody in my life, I don't think would ever ask me that.
No, because you're a tattletale.
Yeah, I'm going to go tell everybody.
Yeah. You're a tattletale.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Don't ask me. I'm going to go tell your mom.
Yeah. I'll be like, ahorita vas a ver. Ahorita.
And I'm going to call, I'm going to tell your mom, and I'm going to call the police.
Yeah. On you and your mama.
Yeah.
Yeah?
No, not your mama. Por tu mamá.
Oh.
So, Cathie, no sé qué le vio a Suzanne. Se me hace que le vio el novio.
Yo pienso que porque she was grunge.
Didn't relent and kept asking Suzanne, now, if Daniel didn't know somebody.
Well, a lo mejor, like, she probably saw her que a lo mejor she was necesitada and she was on food stamps. Maybe that's why. And she was like, oh, maybe she knows. I don't know. ¿Y por qué no le fue a preguntar a sus people, sus sister from the sisterhood of the traveling pants?
If Daniel didn't know of anyone who would carry out her plan. Now, Daniel did have a criminal record, and he had been in prison mostly for drug-related charges. Looked, again, very grungy. And him having been to prison and looking that way made her think that he might know somebody who would, you know.
Maybe somebody that he was in jail or something like that.
So he would know somebody.
Which is kind of not cool, though. Like,
yeah.
Why would you judge? What if he's trying to change his life?
Around.
Yeah.
Maybe he was reformed in prison.
Yeah. What if he's a Jesus man now? Like, you never know.
But yeah. They continued to explain to Suzanne that her car was seen in Sargent on Sunday, May the 17th. And to that, she stated, well, I'll let Daniel borrow it for work purposes. That day.
¿Y también le dio su Lone Star?
Maybe. Well, obviously lo tenía.
Uh-huh.
And as investigators were finishing up speaking with Suzanne.
Llega.
¿Quién llega?
Pues llega el hombre.
Daniel. And he quickly agreed to go to a nearby sheriff's office for questioning.
He's like, cool, let's do this. You're not going to talk about my grunge look.
On the way there, he gets asked questions. They're making conversation right in the vehicle. And one of them was that if he knew about Jack's death. And he said that he didn't. So le enseñan el sketch that was drawn up by the forensic artist. And he says that this doesn't even look like me. I don't know what you're talking about. And then investigators tell him, they're like, well, how do you think that we found you? How do you think we ended up on your doorstep? Cathie told us where you were, which was not the truth. But he didn't know that.
He didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, llegan a la station, right? And again, they're pushing him. And investigators let him know, again, that, Cathie spilled the beans. So just tell us the truth. You were seen in Sargent. We have you, on surveillance. Just tell us the truth. Fess up. He starts talking.
Oh, okay. I'll start talking right now.
Yeah.
Shoot, he's saying like a little bird.
It didn't really take much.
He didn't take much, huh? No, porque yo creo que para esto ya le habían dicho, hey, Cathie told us where you were at. So
exactly.
He's like, all right, bitch.
All right.
All right.
So he stated that Cathie wanted to have Jack killed a long time ago.
What?
She herself, according to Daniel, tried to poison him in 2003
the fuck?
by putting antifreeze in his coffee, but it didn't end up killing him.
What?
Now, this was never confirmed, but it did line up with his health declining.
Yeah. Pinche vieja.
So when Jack didn't die from her attempt, she thought, okay, then I have to have somebody kill him. Which is... Pinche vieja maldita.
Todavía le pagaba el apartamento and everything, motherfucker. God, le cuidaba el perro.
According to Daniel, Cathie reached out to him the day after she met him and asked him if he knew, again, of somebody who would do it.
I would be like, girl, you just met me, girl.
He told her that, quote, he knew, quote, quite a few people.
Oh, okay.
Who could do it for $10K.
Damn.
Porque él presumía that he had been in a biker gang and stuff.
Ah, okay. Pues entonces it wasn't like something that he wasn't recovery,
No, I mean, he thought he was in Sam Crow and shit, así.
Don't remind me.
He said that, again, this is according to Daniel, he took down her phone number, but that he never called her back because he didn't want to get involved in none of that. And that was in 2003. They didn't reconnect until 2009 when Daniel called Cathie for her tax services. And she again brought up the topic of murder.
Well, see, porque she saw how much she was going to get in Texas. And he was like, you know what? You ain't going to get a lot. So if you want, I'll give you a little bit out. Y me hace el favor, I'm just saying, that's the way that I would see that falling up,
coming again.
Yeah.
She asked Daniel, quote, whether he knew anyone who would take care of what we had talked about before and that she would pay the $10K. She explained that Jack had a $200,000 life insurance policy and that she was 50% beneficiary of that amount. So when he passed, if he died, she would get 100. And then Jack's son was the other 50. So, they would have to split it. And then she was saying, when I get the money from this policy, I'll pay you. So this time around, he accepted the offer because apparently him and Suzanne were having some money issues. So she told him that there was a deadline since the court proceedings were due to begin in June. And after, those were done, he was going to take her off the policy and she wasn't going to be a beneficiary. So they agreed to meet at a later date to work out the details. So they met up 2 weeks later where Cathie brought up the opportunity to kill Jack would be when she was away at the convention with her sorority sisters on the weekend of May 15th. And Daniel even drove down to Sargent and drove around with Cathie around town to get familiar with the area and Jack's house.
That is horrible.
And then Daniel stated that he didn't have a gun, but Cathie offered hers up, which wasn't registered to her.
What kind of killer doesn't have a gun? The fuck?
Well, I guess he doesn't do this often.
I'm guessing. So then why even do it? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
Like, why even go there if you don't even have the utensils? Like, why even do that?
Yeah.
I know.
Like I said, Cathie offered up her gun and she was like, well, it works out because it's not registered to me. It was registered to your boss. But like if they couldn't trace it.
Pinche pendeja.
Now, when Cathie made it to her hotel for the convention, Daniel met her there to hash out a little bit more of the details as far as him getting access to her gun, which was back home. So they came up with this plan, which Cathie went to a local Walmart and made a copy of her apartment key, put it in an envelope, and then left it at the front desk of her hotel for Daniel to pick up. Mm. Daniel picked it up on Sunday at 3:30 in the morning of May 17th. He then drove to Cathie's apartment, got her 9mm gun, which was already loaded, and then made his way to Jack's house. But when Daniel arrived at Jack's, he wasn't home. So Daniel drove around town.
That's why he was driving
around town until Jack got home from church services at around 12:30.
Pobrecito.
So cuando vio que llegó Jack, Daniel made his way to Jack's door and knocked, and then pretending to be looking for a good fishing spot. And he said that they talked for a bit, kind of just, talked back and forth. Y luego Daniel asked him if he could use his bathroom. So that's how he got inside the house.
I would have been like, shit, you better piss over there.
So se metió al baño and Jack sat down on his recliner. So cuando salió del baño, he was behind. Le salió por atrás. And he said that he hit Jack with the gun in the back of his head, which knocked him out of the chair and caused him to fall to the floor, but it didn't knock him out. And he actually got up and turned around y que le dijo, "What have I done to you?"
Oh, no.
Y que este güey le dijo, he said, quote, "I told him it wasn't for me. It was for his wife." And then he shot him in the head.
Wow. Pinche vieja.
Los dos. Pinches desgraciados.
Like, I don't care how much trouble we're in. You better tell me no. That is so sad.
He had just got home from church.
From church, bro. So sad.
After he left Jack's home, he pulled up next to Joe Zamora to kind of see if Joe had heard the gunshot. Por eso le fue a preguntar. Y cuando he gave like no inclination that he had heard anything, he left and then proceeded to call Cathie. And he told her that it had been done. And Cathie just asked how her dog was. She was like, "Where's my dog?"
Wow.
Yeah.
So sad.
So Daniel stated that he then disposed of the barrel of the gun in Lake Texoma, which is just like 5 miles northwest of Denison, Texas. Now, Daniel did sign a confession, and investigators were able to get an arrest warrant for Cathie.
Shit, he was like, "You going down with me, motherfucker."
She was arrested while working at the Salvation Army. They arrested her job.
Good.
And then even though she was under the arrest.
Under the arrest. My son says that he's under the arrest.
And even though she was under arrest, she wasn't talking. Now hers and Daniel's bonds were set at $1 million.
Good.
In the 19 days since Jack's death, investigators were now building a case against Cathie, and they had plenty of evidence. They had a receipt of the payment that she gave when she made the copy of the key at Walmart. There was also surveillance video of her dropping off the key in the envelope.
And then him picking it up, right?
Yes, and you can see her dropping the key off at the front desk on May 16th, and then him at 3:30 in the morning on May 17th.
Like he said, like corroborating what he had said.
Yes, exactly. There were also phone records that showed the calls between them on those 2 days, on May 16th and the 17th. And like I just said, and even though Cathie wasn't talking much, people are so fucking stupid. She was recorded on a phone conversation admitting that Daniel had been to her apartment in March when they came up with this whole scheme to pick up some money. So ya la había pagado. I think she gave him some sort of amount. I'm not sure, but I think it was a money order. Now, Daniel for sure was going to go to prison, right? But they really wanted to nail Cathie because everything was at best circumstantial. I mean, nothing. She didn't do it. She didn't shoot Jack. So they offered him a plea deal in exchange for his testimony against her, which he, of course, accepted.
Fuck yeah. I would have been like, "But you're going down with me, motherfucker."
So Cathie's trial began on October 25th of 2010. And prosecutors argued that Cathie's motive was money. Their divorce was fast approaching. And once that had been settled, she would lose his financial support, which she had been used to for years. So she became desperate and she planned his murder.
I mean, but did you really need to kill him instead of just being like, "Hey, bro, can you just let me borrow a few dollars instead of, how about get a job?"
She already had a job.
Does he get a better one, bitch? Like, you don't have to kill people for that.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, I know if you're married for a certain amount of times, don't you get alimony?
I'm pretty sure something. I'm doubting que le iban a dejar así. And knowing this, I mean, not knowing Jack per se, but knowing the way that you've talked about him, seemed like he was a nice dude. Like, he probably would have kept paying for her stuff. Like, what was the point of that? Like,
there's never a reason.
No sense.
But we'll get to that in a little bit también. Along with all the evidence they had against her that was presented during the trial, of course, on top of that, Daniel testified, which, we just went over, what he said were the events that happened. Also, a forensic firearms expert also testified that the markings on the spent shell casing found at the scene were consistent with having been fired from the 9mm Ruger, which Cathie owned. And he also...
I wonder if they found the gun.
Oh, after he disposed of it, and I'm not sure, to be honest. Okay. And he also concluded that the spent shell casing was made by the same manufacturer of the same caliber ammunition found in Cathie's apartment. So I think Cathie herself has some ammunition también del que su boss le había dado for the gun. Daniel, of course, was the prosecution's star witness, and the defense tried to turn him into a liability for the prosecution. Someone whose testimony shouldn't be taken seriously,
because he was in jail,
right? It shouldn't carry so much weight. He, like you just said, he was a criminal, and he confessed to shooting Jack, right? And was probably lying. And Cathie, she had never been in trouble in her life, and everybody just loved her, and she couldn't have done this. But when the trial concluded, a jury of 5 men and 7 women within the hour, over just an hour of deliberation, found Cathie Grigsby guilty of capital murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
As she should.
And as I mentioned, Daniel took the plea deal and he was sentenced to 40 years.
Damn. Now,
Jack was laid to rest, on May 23rd, which is so crazy that, you're here one day and then you're like, oh, next week or in 2 weeks I have plans, but you just never know where you're gonna be.
Yeah, but you went to church and then come back home and to feed the dog and then you get killed.
And then the whole thing is just fucked up. But the kicker, I don't want to say the kicker, but the thing is that, like, during the trial, prosecutors did reveal that Jack had already removed her as a beneficiary,
so she wasn't gonna get shit anyway. What a fucking bitch.
Yeah. And that's the tragic case of the death of Jack Grigsby.
That is so heavy. That is heavy.
Dude, it's just so fucking sad.
God, it's so sad.
Like, I always think, how does it, like, obviously we don't know what happens between people's relationship, and they're the ones that live together and are in the relationship, but where does it ever take a turn where you claim to love this person, like you married this person,
and then all of a sudden you want to have him dead?
I need money. I'm gonna plan your murder.
Like,
what
the hell?
How does it ever get to that point? I'm never gonna understand.
I guess because we're not people that think that way, but I'm pretty sure there's people out there that do. Like, I think that's something that I've learned along the time of us doing this podcast, and along the time of all the research that we've done, is that you just never know. Like, the humans, we're weirdos. Like, we're trash. We're horrible people, and things are like, people are like, oh, I don't like you because of this, or this is more important than that. And it's like, you never think about other people. We have no humanity. And that is the only thing that I've actually learned from the almost 2 years of us doing this, and almost 100 episodes. So it's like, we sit here and we you and I both, every week we go through, what case are we going to research? What case? And then you sit there and you just see, like, why? Unnecessary. Because he did not have to die. Like, he was ready to just chill.
Yeah.
And then he had been getting sick because she was giving him fucking antifreeze. Pinche vieja.
That's what, they...
Well, allegedly.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you would like to... Actually, you know what? I wanted to give a shout out to one of our listeners that sent us a message on Instagram. We really...
she commented.
She commented on our last post, and she was listening from Belgium.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your support. You have no idea what this means to us, especially Estella, because now she thinks she's smart.
And she said that I pronounced Besançon correctly. Thank you.
So yeah, she was all excited. And so thank you so much for everyone, not only you, but everybody else that supports us. If you'd like to, follow us on Instagram, please do at
Cafecito and Crime Pod. And if you would like to leave us a comment, send us a message, you can DM us. You can send us an email. The email, it's on the Instagram.
Download.
Rate us.
Yeah, rate us. Download
and share the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.